The winter winds swept harshly through the small frontier town, rattling the wooden shutters of homes and cutting through threadbare clothes like knives. People hurried along the dusty main street, wrapped in cloaks, clutching whatever food they could afford. At the corner of the street sat a woman, a thin, pale, and weary. Her name was Clara, a young widow who had lost her husband to a mining accident just months before. Her infant son whimpered in her arms, wrapped in a worn blanket, the only possession left from his late father. Clara's hands trembled as she approached the bakery window. The smell of warm bread filled her with longing, but her purse was empty. Desperation clawed at her heart. The baker, a stout man with tired eyes, shook his head. "I'm sorry, Clara. I can't keep giving charity. Times are hard for everyone." Her eyes filled with tears. Slowly, with shaking fingers, she held out her baby's blanket. "Please, broken bar, take this, just one loaf. My baby needs food." The baker hesitated, then, with pity, handed her a loaf in exchange for the blanket. Clara cradled the bread, kissed her baby's forehead, and walked out, her heart broken. She had traded the last thing that tied her child to his father, the rancher's eyes. Unbeknownst to her, someone had been watching from across the street. A tall rancher, broad-shouldered and weather-worn, leaned against his horse. His name was Jacob. Known for his quiet strength and calloused hands, he rarely spoke much. But he had a heart that noticed what others ignored. When he saw Clara part with the baby's blanket, something stirred deep inside him. No mother should ever have to give away her child's warmth for bread, he thought. That evening, Clara returned to her small, cold shack. She set the bread on the wooden table, whispering prayers of thanks. But as she sat, she saw something that made her freeze. On her table lay not just the bread but a cowboy's hat. Jacob's hat. The meaning of the hat. In the frontier, a man's hat was his pride. No rancher parted with it lightly. It was more than clothing. It was identity, protection, and honor. Clara picked it up with trembling hands, confused. Beneath it lay a note scrawled in rough handwriting: "Mom, you won't trade your baby's blanket again. This hat marks your table as mine too. From today, you and your child won't go hungry." Her breath caught. The ranchero Broken Bar was offering himself, his name, his home, a new beginning. The next morning, Jacob arrived at her door with a sack of flour, beans, and firewood. Clara tried to protest, but he simply tipped his head and said, "A man don't let a baby go cold when he's got two strong hands to work." Days turned into weeks. Jacob repaired her roof, chopped wood, and left food on her table. The townsfolk whispered, "The rancher's put his hat on her table. That means he's claimed responsibility for her household." Clara, once shunned as a burden, now walked the streets with dignity. The test. But pride burned in Clara's chest. One evening, she confronted him. "Why are you doing this, Jacob?" "Out of pity." "I don't want pity." He looked her square inches the eyes. "It ain't pity. It's respect. I saw the strength it took for you to give up what you cherished most, just to feed your child. That's the kind of woman a man builds a life with." Tears filled Clara's eyes. For the first time since her husband's death, she felt seen, not as a beggar, not as a widow, but as a woman of worth. The home she never expected. Spring came, and with it, blossoms across the prairie. Jacob built a cradle from oak and brought back Clara's baby's blanket from the baker, paying 3 times its worth. When he placed it back into her hands, she wept. "Some things," he said gently, "ain't meant to be traded. Some things are meant to be kept to and cherished." Clara looked at him, her heart full. The rancher had not only given her food and firewood, he had given her back dignity, hope, and a future. The ending. Years later, travelers through town would see a sturdy ranch, laughter spilling out of its windows. A strong rancher, a radiant woman, and children running barefoot through the fields. And on the mantel, above the fireplace, hung a cowboy's hat, too old, worn, but sacred. Because that hat wasn't just leather and brim. It was the promise that saved a widow and her child. And it all began the day a rancher refused to let a baby's blanket be traded for bread.